Well, the interest in implementing bilingual programs in higher education in Europe and Spain comes from the necessity to satisfy a demand on the part of students and on the part of society as a whole, because the levels of competency in English, for example, in Spain, are not very high. Second, we have had programs all over the country in primary and secondary education at the end of them, so that students could not find matching topics and subjects at the university. So we can say that we are really, as I said at the beginning, satisfying a demand, and also because this is one of the main objectives of the policy to internationalize the universities. Well, the challenges we found in the development of the bilingual program, I think the main one has to be distinguished is the necessity we had to convince the local authorities that it was fruitful and beneficial for the university to offer subjects through an additional language. For some of them it was not clear that a particular program would be a benefit for enhancing the international profile of the university. And the second challenge we found was to convince teachers. There were a lot of misconceptions about bilingual education. Many of them just thought it was a question of changing the language of instruction, and they were not aware of the necessity of possessing a methodological knowledge or the capacity to use the language as an instrument for teaching high complex academic concepts, ideas, or whatever. And thirdly, we had to convince two students that, again, they were not very well aware that the programs and the cost in terms of effort, extra additional effort for them, would be something, again, beneficial. And I think that was putting all of them three together, the main challenge that we had to cope with at the beginning. The challenges for the implementation can be summarized. Challenges for the teachers and challenges for the students. The teachers had to be certified with a minimal linguistic proficiency to teach through English, which is something very obvious, but also which was not very obvious at the beginning, was that the teachers had to possess a methodological certification, a methodological qualification. So the challenge or the real problem was the way we taught them in both dimensions, linguistic, purely linguistic, and methodological. And moving on to students, the main problem was that we had to make sure that they had the basic linguistic competence to follow, to be in a class taught completely in English, and to understand, manipulate, use the language, and above all, assimilate the content. So they were not very happy when we first said, you need to certify B2 linguistic level, because if not, there will be no use of you being here listening to a teacher talking about biochemistry, which is very complex in the mother tongue, but being taught in the additional language is more complex, but you don't have the possibility to understand, so you don't have the possibility to progress in the learning. The main outcomes, well, Spain is a big country, not as much as Mexico, obviously, but there are many universities, state universities, private universities, and it's hard to generalize about the outcomes. But in general, we can say, from evidence we have from scientific literature, reports by teachers and students in different seminars, congresses. So there are evidence that support the idea that the outcome is in general positive. not only because the students are gaining a deeper and more profound knowledge in the use of language, the additional language which is used for instruction, but also because of the methodological variety that teachers have to deploy in their classes. The students are, simply in a nutshell, can be said that they are learning better. They're not learning faster, but they're learning better in terms of assimilation of content and the internalization of difficult ideas and the possibility to retain essential important information for longer than through the traditional teaching through only the mother tongue.